Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the NewIn Podcast. I'm Cathi Harrison. I'm so pleased that you are here today. So my interesting fact for this episode is that I have actually just launched, very excitingly, a brand new recruitment platform, which is designed very specifically to help bring new talent into financial services. So this is a gap that has been in finance forever. We always say we want to get new people in, but how do they find their jobs? Likewise, how do the existing employers find the new people to come in and work in their firm? So you can now go to www.careersinfinance.co.uk, sign up for free, create a profile, browse lots of jobs, and hopefully kickstart your career in finance and be part of the new talent that is also going to help financial services evolve in future. So speaking of new talent, that's exactly what this episode is focused on. So we start with an interview with Ilana, interviewing Scott Shaftoe, talking about his career, how he joined one of the foundation programs, made an entire career change and is loving life training as an advisor. And then we also hear from Holly Johnson, who again didn't know about finance, actually was a history graduate, but joined what was Parasols, my original company, about 7 years ago now, and is also now a financial advisor. Two slightly different experiences, but you get to hear their journeys and you get to hear a whole load of Geordie accents. So enjoy this episode.
Hello, and a big welcome to the NewIn Podcast, Scott. This podcast, as you know, is about people who chose financial services, not just fell into it. And your story is a proper example of that. So let's start off then by telling us, what is your role now?
Currently an associate financial advisor in Newcastle. Only recently started that the last 4 to 6 weeks. Previous to that, I was a paraplanner. So I was a paraplanner for about 18 months. And before that, I had a career change. So basically brand new to the financial service industry at that time.
If you take us back to a time, maybe when you were looking at university, what was it you wanted to do? You know, what did you then apply for, and where did that lead you?
So I started university back in around 2005, doing criminology. So the plan was always I want to join the police. That's where I want to go, and that'll be my career until I retire, get my final salary pension, and that'll be me off into the sunset. That was the plan. Didn't necessarily work like that. So by the time 2008 hit, financial crisis hit, and there was a full recruitment ban on the police. So you sort of had to think of something different in terms of what you need to do, because you still need to forge your career. There wasn't a lot of jobs out there. And at the time, I worked part-time while I was at university in a supermarket. So the natural progression was, well, I might as well just apply for the graduate scheme in there. And I became a manager within that supermarket. So that was in 2008. And that's where I stayed up until 2022. At that time, you still sort of want to join the police, but it started getting harder and harder, because as your salary starts to increase, it's very hard to then look at how do you start again in terms of a new career. And so it sort of ended up becoming on a bit of a back burner, where you just think at some point I'll look for something different, didn't necessarily know what I want to do. So I just kept plodding on year after year as a store manager with that, which again wasn't necessarily the worst decision to do, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that's where I started looking at wanting to do a career change in the last few years.
Wow, so it was 14 years, and it sounds like you were progressing, as you say. And I think that will be a very familiar feeling to a lot of people. As your salary and your income improves, it does get harder and harder, to make that change. And if I'd been on L7, not if I'd just approached you, maybe a few years in and said, you're going to be a financial planner, what would you have said back, aside from calling security, because that would be quite a weird thing to happen, wouldn't it? What would have been your thoughts?
I think first and foremost, I think I wouldn't have understood how I would have got there. I think the second one, I probably wouldn't have understood what that was. I'm from quite a working class area. No one I know has spoke to a financial advisor and things like that. So it's not something that's probably commonplace to even know that sort of role exists, if that makes sense.
I hear that a lot, when I work with schools in some of the less advantaged areas, for sure. Their views on futures are so much narrower than you see in the other kind of more advantaged areas
Yeah,
as
definitely.
well.
I mean, we've done a few talks over the last year in schools and that, to sort of discuss certain aspects of money. And I think that's a good thing to continue doing, because there's still a perception with financial advice that it's only for the rich. Where actually, as we're starting to move towards financial planning rather than just specifically transactional advice, the planning side of it actually benefits a lot of people who necessarily haven't got the liquid assets that you would automatically assume that, because actually the plan can be sometimes a little bit more important than what investments you put in and things like that, because the plan is, when can I leave work? When can I do the things I enjoy doing and things like that? How much money do you need? What does that equate to in terms of how much you contribute? That's what you would get from financial planning. And actually, it targets a different type of person than probably what it does in the past.
Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. And exactly the sort of things we want to, raise awareness of. And otherwise, we're ending up in this position of allowing people, through just not being informed, not be as financially resilient as they could be, just with a little bit of planning. Let's think about 2022. If there's something's not working for you and you're having these thoughts about change, tell us a bit more about that.
Probably it's been in the back of my mind before 2022. Working in a supermarket maybe hit a little bit more with COVID, because you're probably working even harder, because actually the supermarket was people's only trip out at certain points. It was a really, really difficult time. I had my first child, so my son was born in 2020 as well, so that probably added a little bit to it. And you start thinking, there's more to life than this. There's more to life than this. Getting to the point where you're in your mid-30s by then, you're thinking, right, I've got at least another 25 years to work. Can I continue doing this for another 25 years? Didn't feel like I could. But again, it's that answer of, how do you get out of the situation? Because you're used to an income. How do you support a family, pay your mortgage, and do all them sort of things? And it was only by chance that I was looking on Indeed at one point, and it came up with an advertisement for the Verve Foundation, which helps support people into the industry and bring new experiences. So I applied for that, and they fully supported me with my qualifications. So my diploma in financial planning, they supported me with the training, the resources. All I needed to commit to was my time. So still working at the supermarket, which again involved quite a bit of structure, because you can work for 11, 12 hours in a day, and then you've got to come home, put your son to bed, have a bit of bath time with the bed, things like that, and then you've got to sit, right, now I need to do 3 hours of work, and your day off is getting up at 5 o'clock, so you're not missing your day off to spend some time with your family. So it requires a lot of commitment in terms of that. I felt like I probably need to do more, because I was a total outsider in the industry. So it took me 2 years to get those 6 exams. And it got to the point of where I found out I passed, and I just thought, you know what it is, I'm just going to leave. So I just said to my partner on the night, I went, do you know what it is? I'm just going to have my notice in tomorrow, because I think if I don't, I'm just going to keep on ploughing on, thinking there's always next year, and I need to put pressure on myself to go and do something. I knew I was going to have to take a big drop in salary. So over those 2 years where I was doing my qualifications, I just made sure that I was living like I was on a low salary. So made sure we had no debt. We made sure that we had a lot in cash savings, just saved up. So I knew that at some point, if I wasn't working for X amount of time, there was a bit of a war chest there to sort of just pay for that and take the pressure off. In the meantime as well, so 2023, when I was still studying as well, I had my daughter. So that's part of the reason I sort of made that decision as well, of going, I just need to do it while the kids are young. I need to do it while I'm still young enough to do it, because if I continue at the supermarket for another 5 years, am I going to then start backing out and thinking, oh, maybe not? So I just thought, no, I'm just going to do it. So that's when I handed my notice in.
Wow. I mean, that is an absolutely incredible story. Everybody, at multiple points in their life is going to reach these forks in the road. And it's really easy to just keep doing what we're doing. Even if it's not serving us well, it feels safer than taking that path. So tell us a bit more about standing at that fork.
During that day, everything was absolutely fine in the shop. And so I can't pinpoint of going, it was just I had a really bad day. So I just thought, I'm going, And I still felt like I just kept thinking, there's more to life than this, there's more to life than this, more to life than this. And when I ended up handing my notice in to my manager, she sort of said, "Oh, what's happening?" And I went, "That's the thing, nothing's happened, and I still feel like this, so I know there's something not right." So it's not like I'm basing it on one bad day or anything like that. Everything was fine, and I still felt exactly the same. And that was the tipping point of going, there must be something wrong if I still feel like that when everything's fine. I think that as soon as I handed my notice in as well, I'm assuming a lot of people, it will probably be a big time of worry. But being totally honest, it felt like an absolute weight lifted off my shoulders. So actually, I felt so much better as soon as I'd done it. It felt like I'd already started and moved on, which was absolutely brilliant. But it took 2 years to build that, to be confident enough to do it as well. So
It was like, so you knew you were going to end up at this fork at some point, and you really reduced the uncertainty, because that's the thing that stops us quite, most of the time, not being able to see round corners. And you were reducing that uncertainty by that planning. So obviously it was just in your blood, Scott. You were going to be a financial planner with
must
that
have been,
sort of,
yeah.
make sure I've got enough in cash, make sure I can live on a lower salary.
Exactly. Create your own
So,
plan. Yeah.
so it was definitely, in you there.
It's hard to probably advise that, isn't it? Because it's probably not the best recommendation. Just to basically hand your notice in and go when you've got a young family. But it did work out for me. But it could have quite easily been a risk where it didn't.
I was laughing then when you were like, this is what I did, but I'm not saying everyone should just hand their notice in. It's like when you've got to put those caveats on like
Terms
social media
conditions,
content. Like, this is not advice, this is personal opinion sort of thing. And you went on to tell us then about that really challenging period over that 2 years where you were had a young family, have a partner, you're working hard, it's long hours there. Did you have any sort of wobbly days or any moments that you felt you wanted to back out?
Being totally honest, no. I was that committed to. I just, all I wanted to do was get to the end. I think the only frustrating bit with me was I wasn't getting it quick enough, because I didn't have the time to spend 30 hours a week doing it. Where actually I would like to have just gone all out and just got it done, and get qualified and to basically start my career quicker. There were certain times where you're absolutely knacking. You think, oh, like, right now I need to sit. Now I need to sit at my desk and do this. Like, that's hard, but in the long term, it's for the right reasons. We talked about flexibility and things like that before, but the difference between working in a supermarket where you expected to work weekends, you expected to work late nights, you could be doing a 16-hour shift. That's part of the bit I want to get out of as well, because especially when your children are at school or nursery or something Monday to Friday and you're working all weekend, you're not getting a lot of time to see them as well.
And then you said, one of the things you then saw was this advert on Indeed for the Verve Foundation.
Mhm.
So was that the first time you actually thought about the financial planning profession?
I've always been quite interested in terms of finance, but from a personal point of view, because I always thought, actually, if I can just make my own finances better, then I'll have a better life, sort of thing. I never thought about it as a career or anything like that, but I was always quite interested in it. So I would listen to podcasts on the way to work and all that sort of thing. And it was only by chance that it came across with this, because again, I didn't know how you would get into a career as a financial planner. But again, I've talked about from a background point of view, born in Sunderland, live in Sunderland, it's a working class area that isn't somewhere where you would talk about, oh yeah, I've been speaking to my financial advisor or anything like that. You just don't get that. So it's not something that felt very common. And it's only that advert that basically thought, do you know what it is? I could do that. And you start questioning it. Why not? So then you start looking into what a financial advisor or planner does. And that's where you start going, I would definitely do that. I would do that. And you start to try to understand it, and you think, why don't I just go for that?
And how helpful have you found that kind of initial paraplanning role to what you're doing now?
Oh, brilliant. I think it gives an absolute brilliant base, especially for someone who's coming from a totally different industry. Actually, I feel really privileged, the fact that I've gone in at that level. There is obviously other ways in with trainee financial advisors and things like that. My personal point of view is I've always been quite a stickler on, I prefer to fully understand something first before I'm confident enough to talk about it. So you need to be on the platforms. You need to understand what's in a recommendation report. You need to understand why you're recommending something, how do you do that fund research, how would you speak to a provider, how long it takes to get a letter of authority back. All them bits you understand by doing the role as an administrator, as a paraplanner, and then working your way into that advice.
You might just have a note of this one, but has there been anything harder in the role since you've actually taken the position?
It's probably the same in any new role. You sort of start your first few weeks and think, oh, this is absolutely, like, I get this, yeah, I get that, that makes sense, that makes sense. And the more you start to learn, the more you realise, the more you don't know. The paraplanners in the company I work for are in basically every meeting. So basically, they're there to take notes. So that's been really beneficial to me. But the first few meetings I went in, it was very much like a client would be asking a question and the financial planner would be answering, and you're like, how do you know that? And that was the bit that worried me, where I'm thinking, I don't even know how would you know what's going to get asked? Because they could ask you anything. And it starts to get to the point where you're like, actually, now you're in meetings, you're like, you sort of know what's going to get asked because a lot of people have the same thoughts, the same feelings, and you become that confident in terms of what you're recommending and everything like that. Actually becomes second nature.
That's brilliant, that, because funny enough, I think that's the thing that ensures that you're really good at your job and helps you avoid, the famous Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think what you know is everything there is to know about a subject.
That's a little bit as well of the confidence, because if you never blag your way out of something that you don't know, there's no harm in basically going, I don't know, but I'll find out for you and I'll get back to you.
I remember when I'd said to Jim Grant, he was a legend at Royal London, when I was panicking once, going, how am I going to know all of this? He was like, Ilana, the master need only ever be one lesson ahead of the student. And
it's good advice.
like, amazing. Yeah, some words to live by. Something else I was thinking about, going back to what some of the sort of benefits and challenges are of bringing such, career changes and all of this new perspectives in. Do you feel free to think differently, or do you think there's still pressure to fit a mold?
Maybe it's the company I work for, but they're very, very receptive to ideas. Because, from an experience point of view, like, I haven't got long experience in financial services. I've got a year and a half, but I've got a lot of experience in terms of leading teams, 400 or 500 people, and you've got certain targets that you need to hit, and similar, you've got certain compliance targets that you need to hit. And sometimes it's good having that experience from someone to probably think differently, of going, well, actually, why don't we just look at it this way? And, why don't we just do that? And certain very probably simple solutions that new ideas bring, because, you've got people from other careers who would probably do things a little bit differently with it. But why not try that in financial services?
That's brilliant and very reassuring to hear. You just said having, at some points 400 to 500 people, even though there's so much satisfaction in leading and shaping teams, that must feel so differently now, waking up in the morning and not having that responsibility.
Yeah, I think, do you know the big bit with it is and in a supermarket it runs 24/7. So even if the supermarket's not open 24/7, there's always someone in the building, because you've got night shift work and delivery, you've got home shopping starting at 4 o'clock in the morning, picking the orders for delivery. You're so reliant on that team even when you're not there. And that's where it makes it very, very hard to switch off. So you have a day off in financial services because it's Saturday. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening because no one's in the office. The markets aren't moving. There might be Trump might be doing something, but anyway, but nothing's happening in terms of your day-to-day job. You might get a couple of emails from clients or something like that, but there probably isn't the expectation, if they do email on a Sunday, that you're going to get a reply on a Sunday. You can reply on the Monday and get back in touch, sort of thing. In a supermarket, it's still happening when you're not there. So if you take a week's holiday, if you're off a day and things like that, you're responsible. So you will get a phone call because you're the store manager if there's been a crash in a home shopping van, for example, or there's a virus going around, there's 6 people rang in sick, so the delivery's not worked, or like something like that. That all them bits could happen anytime, whether you're on holiday, whether you're day off, anything. And there might be a decision where you're like, I'm gonna have to go to work. And that would just be normal. To talk about work-life balance, you didn't have that work-life balance even when you weren't there in a supermarket.
I'd never thought of that actually, but that's a huge amount of pressure.
Mm.
Like say, even if, and I do hear that from my friends in professions where they're on call, they don't sleep because their phones, they know it
You're
could
waiting
ring,
for,
even
yeah,
if it
yeah.
doesn't.
I think the biggest bit I can probably say outside of work is I can feel a massive difference in my social life because you can plan for things. It's like, "Oh, will I be working that Saturday? Will I be doing this?" That's good for your mental well-being and things like that as well. So you enjoy when you go into work. There's no dread. You're excited to come into work and make a difference and do that. You go home, but actually you've got the energy to do things on a night, on a weekend. You can plan to do something. It just makes such a big difference. And sometimes, even initially where you talk about a big drop in salary, there's things that's probably more important than money with that.
Oh, 100%. And I know you said it's not, you said it's like the most important thing, but it is having all of those different parts of your life. That takes investment, in friends and family. It can't be something that we put off until we retire.
Yeah.
It's, a key sort of golden thread of our lives, isn't it? So if you were like reflecting back and going to write yourself a thank you note, what would that thank you note say?
I think it's probably just a bit of realization in terms of, stepping back and understanding that you're probably more resilient than you think. Because you don't always think that on a day-to-day basis, do you? I think even though it's a big risk, it's being very calculated. Everything sort of fell into place, but you've got to put the foundations to be able to do it, sort of thing. And yeah, I think probably just you need to be proud of yourself, don't you? So yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. I think my favorite bit is you've got to be proud of yourself. How much mental health and well-being would be changed across the nation if people could just feel proud of themselves. Done. So I absolutely love that. I just want to thank you so much for everything you've shared. I think it is so inspiring.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
NewIn Podcast, supported by Royal London, the lead sponsor of the Verve Foundation.
So I am delighted to welcome Holly Johnson to the NewIn Podcast. Thanks
Hello.
for joining us. Hello.
No worries.
So this is our new talent episode, and so far we've heard from Ilana and Scott about his experience coming through the foundation, moving into paraplanning, and then ultimately starting to advise, which is very exciting. And I thought, who do I know who's gone through a very similar journey? So do you want to tell people a bit, Hols, about your your journey, how you got into finance and your current role?
Did history because I was amazing at it, and I only applied for the Verve group, Parasols,
At
back
the time,
then.
yeah.
It was a tweet on Newcastle University's Twitter page saying, be a paraplanner. So obviously it was like, what the hell's a paraplanner? I did the assessment day. It wasn't that hard, it was alright. It wasn't that hard. And then joined that way, went through paraplanning, loved it. Went in a bit of training as well, didn't I? Always thinking what to do next, especially that Verve. It's never really sitting still. And got my big girl pants on and thought, well, I want to go be an advisor. So there we go. And that's the only thing that Verve didn't do, unfortunately. So I skedaddled.
You did, but I do remember that conversation about putting your big girl pants on. It was such a big leap of going from I'm behind the scenes working
Yeah.
on stuff to I need to be in front of clients. I know the theory, but the reality of it involves putting my big girl pants on. So tell us how you found that transition.
Bigger pants.
Yeah.
Where I found them, opened the drawers and there they were. To be fair, we are talking for about 7 years working
Yeah.
in finance at that point. So
Yeah.
it did start from admin, paraplanning, and then I was really good at paraplanning. I loved it. And then sharing my knowledge, getting in front of people, explaining it, and thinking, oh, actually, yeah, I can explain it okay to people. Could I do this for clients? But it was more about, just because felt really young. I mean, even then, we were just laughing that I've just got married and now I feel like an adult, and I'm
Yeah.
33. But at the time when I was in my 20s, I just felt like I wasn't really old enough to be an advisor. I think it's quite scary to advise people when they think, well, what have you done? What have you gone through?
Yeah.
And then I think it's just confidence, really. I'm not really one of those who can fake it till you make it, unfortunately. I just had to be confident enough to then go and do it.
You've always been very much like preparation.
Yeah.
So even
absolutely.
if it was, or can you just help us launch an exam training day as an example, which just springs to mind. And I would have just went, yeah, sure, I'll do that tomorrow. And you were like, I will do it, but I'm going to spend all weekend like prepping for this day and kind of making sure. Do you think
And it was good.
it was cracking?
People still mention it
Built
today.
another business on the side of it. Do you think that approach to preparation is what's helped you kind of make that transition to like the other side of the fence?
Yeah, but you do have to be thrown in the deep end as well. So I love prepping, but when you're in front of a client, you've got to think on your feet. So you need a bit of both.
One of the areas of moving into finance and becoming an advisor that I think people don't understand and is complicated for them to understand if you're not in finance is the whole competent advisor status and kind of going through that process. So as a paraplanner, you had all the knowledge, you'd done the qualifications that were needed in order to advise, but actually there's still a whole extra process before you can be kind of signed off to go out and advise. So for people that are kind of outside of finance and don't understand that process, can you talk us through it?
That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but that's just because I work within quite a big company. They've got their own big compliance team and they've got a structure. So I'm an associate financial planner, so basically, like a trainee. And I work with a very experienced financial advisor, someone who at this point I've probably worked with for over 6 months as well. So he's there to help give the advice. He can chime in at any point as well. So that is helpful.
So that's you sitting in client meetings, going through the advice process, but you're not entirely on your own. Initially, there's somebody else that's kind of there supporting, observing.
So it started off initially where I would only do little bits of the meeting. Then there'll be a client where they would say, this is quite a nice client to do. Do you want to run this one yourself? But I am going to be there with you. So we did it that way. They're observing you, and there is tick points that you've got to meet. But with the feedback that you get, it's more about how do you improve. It's never saying you've done this, you're terrible. It's more just how can we improve you, and you could have done this. I haven't asked about ESG again, so sorry. But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah,
it was a good process.
It's just the supporting you on the people side of it, isn't it? Because in finance, if you need to learn the technical stuff, that's fine. You can learn it. You can do tests. You can do exams. That's how it's assessed. But you can't go and do an exam in people skills. So you kind of have to do it on the job with people signing
And
you
that
off.
was scary at first, because the first meeting I ever joined, he threw me in the deep end and he was like, oh, go on then, Holly, you do a market update. Worst day of my life. Wanted to just quit then and then, because I was like, I can't do it. Then the next time you do it, it's easier.
Yeah.
And then you do bits that I find from paraplanning, doing the cash flow side, I found that really easy. You're just saying it out loud rather than just writing it down.
How would you rank choosing a career as a paraplanner or choosing a career as an advisor for people who aren't yet in finance? Which kind of people and personalities and skill sets do you think are best suited to paraplanning and which are best suited to advising?
I think everyone should go through paraplanning before they advise.
Yeah.
Just because you can sort of tell who doesn't, because the files are awful. Whereas compliance love me because I've done the paraplanning side of things. But people who just want to be behind the scenes, they're very detail orientated, and probably need more extra time to do things, like to keep things in order. Whereas I think when you do go into advising, there's some things that are going to crop up, and I think if you're more outspoken, love talking to people, which bear in mind, my social battery dies straight away.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I am absolutely knackered because I just don't even want to speak to my husband. But I don't know, if you asked me 10 years ago, would I go into advising? I'd be like, oh God, no, because I didn't have the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard, really.
I think one of the questions I had was to say, do you think all advisors should paraplan first? Should it be mandatory? Because I agree with you, and I think it makes such a difference. I think there are different skill sets, but I genuinely think even if you are naturally the most vivacious, outgoing person, and you just want to go and speak to clients all the time, and you're great at that whole side of it, the foundational work of paraplanning and understanding the detail and the technical side of it and understanding the compliance side of it, and not just seeing it all as a blocker, I think makes you a better advisor overall.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with that. What I'm finding quite hard already is I've been advising less than a year, and already my knowledge is going a little bit. I'm thinking, oh God, this has changed, because you're not in it every day. So you definitely need that support with it. Whereas if I was trying to revise while trying to learn everything, I'd die.
Well, you can't, and that's the whole point of the paraplanner role, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
somebody needs to have the time to be in that technical stuff all the time, which you can't do. But I'm the same as with Verve. Obviously, we've got like 60 people in the company now, but I don't get involved in the technical stuff day to day, and I'll be like, what's an ISA?
I'm not that bad.
What's the limit? When you were a paraplanner and people would say, what do you do for a living? And you'd say, I'm a paraplanner. And they'd go, what's that?
Yeah.
Is it any better now?
Well, not really. My mum still calls me an accountant. So it's so simple.
What do you think of financial advice as a second career option? Like, do you think it's a good choice for people? Like, if they've got other life skills and other experiences to consider it?
Oh God, yeah. There's no better feeling of doing it. When you get like a client email, being like, oh my God, you've changed my life. You've done this. I'm dealing with a lot of clients at the moment who are going through divorce.
Yeah.
And just hate. I think there is a worry about AI and how does that replicate advice, but I think at the end of the day you're another person listening to someone, and that someone has gone through so many different things in their lives, but that money's only part of it. But yeah, I think if you're someone who's gone through quite a bit in life and you want to help people, sharing those experiences or helping them through it is just like, yeah, it is one of the best feelings.
Yeah.
And then when you get to package all that up to someone and say, oh, by the way, you can like retire 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
And do you know how you've always wanted to do this because your dad died there and you want to go. So it's just, yeah, it has a massive impact.
It's more than just the numbers, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
sort of, I always say it's why it's not
Thank
just
God.
about the maths. Yeah. Do any of your friends come and ask you for advice?
Yeah, they do, but I was debating this the other day because I was talking to my manager today saying like, right, we need to make a brand for you, you need to go out, be yourself, and get your own self-gen sort of thing. So it's like, what about
They were saying you need to create your own brand and going, okay.
go out there. And like, what about your friends? And it's a topic I haven't really approached with them yet, but I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I feel like a lot of friends don't talk about money.
Yeah.
And then that's quite difficult to approach. Then do they want to share how much? Because when we do a financial plan, it's literally going about how much do you spend and your bank statements and everything. I haven't approached that topic yet, to be honest, but I do want to, though.
I think that's interesting, though, that whole... So we know that part of the reason not so many people get advice is because money is such a taboo.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more or less scary for them to have that conversation with somebody they know?
I know. I think you'll be right. I think if one of my friends was an advisor, I would go to them.
You would go to them,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think I'm just not giving myself the same credit to then ask them if they
That's true.
want help.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's interesting, if you hadn't seen that tweet, or from the earlier interview, if Scott hadn't seen the Indeed post for the foundation, like you both might have completely different careers, like absolutely different trajectory, which is like scary to think that like one tweet has shaped like the last 7 years of your life. Do you think there's more that we could or should be doing? Do you think there's a way of making it so that it's more deliberate for people to make these choices, or do we just need to keep posting random stuff and hoping it strikes?
If you see financial advisor job roles, guaranteed it's on like a blue background or something, and it's like, oh, you could earn this, and it's very sales orientated still, all the jobs, which I absolutely wouldn't apply for.
Yeah.
I think applying for the job at Parasols was more about, are you good at this? Yeah, I could be.
Yeah.
And then that sounds quite interesting, and also the company sounded really nice as well. In terms of what can be done, I think it's like, it's still got a bit of a stigma. Films and everything like that has part of it as well, where you think of, is it The Big Short? Everyone thinks of, everyone always thinks
Wolf of
my
Wall
career's
Street,
like that.
yeah.
People sometimes say buy, sell, and I'm like, I don't do that.
No.
I literally
Quite
speak
the
to
opposite.
people.
Literally tell them not to buy or sell.
Shut up and keep it. He just keeps grabbing this thing.
What is it?
Don't know, a bit of felt.
Ah, nice.
Probably something off the camera.
So obviously we're doing like our bit in the foundation. We've always done our bit, I would say, in Verve, because we do our graduate scheme, which is obviously how you joined Parasols in the first place. And I was just reading yesterday, like grad scheme intakes just in the last year are down by 39%, I think it was. And obviously they're looking, yes, there's some AI impact, but actually they're saying it's just more like the economy, and there's so much uncertainty around hiring. But we've just reopened our graduate scheme, so just maintain, we should bring people in and like new people in, and like I love it. I love getting people in fresh out of uni and like just bringing that kind of curiosity and energy. But obviously we can only hire so many at Verve, and that's why we started to do the new talent programme through the foundation. So that helps, and I have seen there's like a New Talent Alliance out there and a Future Financial Advisor website. There are things happening where, like, maybe for the first time in a long time, people are actually taking some action instead of just talking about the problems. But I don't know if you've got any sense of, like, are you seeing that ripple effect anywhere? Do you think as an industry we're doing enough, or do you think we need to be doing a whole lot more?
When I think about like all the trainee advisors at work, they're all relatively young basically. Yeah. So they're all new people coming in. I know there's the likes of, you know, Quilter and stuff do a grad scheme, but to me it looks absolutely fine. But then when I go to a conference and I'm like, gee, I am the youngest person here and I'm outside of my peers. Do you think it's improving?
I'm aware that I often operate in an echo chamber, so I see all the impact that we have. Yeah. I'll see like forward-thinking, tech-focused advisors because they're Verve clients, or I'll see the people that we've helped start new careers through the foundation, or like people like you or our graduates. So I kind of go, oh, you know, this is like this wonderful world, and we're all very, you know, like young and diverse and modern. But then, as you say, sometimes you step outside of it. And I think the most recent FCA numbers are that the number of advisors has stayed flat. And they did say that the average age has now dropped. It's like late 40s. But I don't know, I just think you hear the same problems all the time still. I think as an industry, it is still vastly misunderstood. And I think if enough companies pooled their resources, knowledge, like amplified the message enough, like we probably could make more of a noise about it. But I also don't know, it could be the same in any industry. Like, I don't know the truth about being a lawyer or a history teacher. Like, everybody's just got like their external perception, haven't they?
Yeah, I feel like there's always a path for that though. At uni or at college, there's none, but there's no really path. Like, say if I knew what I knew now, then I would just do an apprenticeship straight away. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Even if you do a financial planning degree, it's not a path, is it? So you come in and you have to go and do your diploma. So like, there's no like there's no clear articulation of what the options are, and then no clear structure, even if you do work it out. Yeah. If you hadn't seen that tweet and you hadn't started a career in finance, what do you think you'd be doing now?
I don't know. I think I was looking at HR.
Yeah, I looked at HR. I think it's such a generic thing, and then it's like I don't know what else to do. I had a business degree, and I was like, what else should I do? I'll do HR.
Yeah, but then what else do you do? Unless you go to even if you go to a careers thing, I think they're like, you'd be all right at HR. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, and it's just like you're at such a formative stage, and you can only look to kind of the people near to try and figure out what to do, and it can just send people off on like a completely different path. Yeah,
and growing up, I didn't know anyone with financial advisors.
Yeah.
Absolutely, my parents didn't have them. None of my friends did. No one's parents were them. Yeah. So why would you ever consider it as a career?
Exactly, yeah. Whereas now, you'll be just inspiring.
Inspiring
everybody in the northeast.
Why's my pension down?
Don't buy, don't sell. Don't buy, don't sell. Fabulous. Well, thank you very much for coming in and joining us today, Holly and Bron. Do you want to say hi to the camera? Do you want to say hi? There we go.
Continue for a little bit.
Oh, that was. I'm sorry, I did that far too soon. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us for this podcast episode. Thanks to Scott and to Holly and to Ilana, and most of all to Bron. Can you be our mascot? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
If you're interested in joining one of our advisor programs or being a supporter of our mission, then head on over to vervefoundation.co.uk.